Floodwaters ravaged Port Bruce earlier this week, flooding basements, swallowing roads, but no one seemed to see this coming today. The Imperial Road Bridge collapsing.
It was a scary situation for an unsuspecting dump truck driver today. The young man was heading into Port Bruce over the Imperial Road Bridge when all of a sudden the structure collapsed.
This is the scene in Port Bruce near the Lake Erie shoreline. Nearby residents say the ground shook when the Imperial Bridge collapsed.
So I was hauling gravel all day. That was my fourth load. Almost made it across the bridge and snapped behind me and I slid back down.
Probably do their best structurally to figure out why it went where it is right now. And then they're going to have to figure out how the heck do they get it out.
Disaster strikes in Port Bruce, Ontario. The collapse of this bridge has left a community split in two and will require a specialized game plan to make way for an eventual reunification. In steps Priestley Demolition, the preeminent bridge demolition experts. They possess the ingenuity required to get this mess cleaned up.
We got the call from the MTO, and of course it's very sensitive this time of year. Fishing season's about to start, spawning of the fish, it's fish habitat. So it's really important to the Conservation Authority and the town that we get the river back to normal operation.
What the bridge is it's in three spans. They built spans 1 and 3, which were the spans that sat on the abutments, and then span 2 sat in the middle, and there was no piers for it. It was bearing solely on the cantilever of spans 1 and 3. So what we've got is one complete span is completely in the water. So we've got to remove that span. So in order to do that, we've got to remove spans 1 and 3. And then by doing that, then we're going to gain access onto span 2.
And our plan will be to enter the water, segregate the 8 beams that make up span 2, and then pull them out one at a time onto the shore where we can process them and recycle them.
What we've got for equipment, we've got 3 50-ton excavators with oil quicks. They're the ones doing the bulk of the work, the hammering and the processing.
It definitely complements our type of work, and this is the kind of thing that we're accustomed to, as you say, so it's business as usual, just a really different scenario.
And without missing a beat, these hungry machines and their eager operators chew into the sections lying on both banks of the river. Span 1 has been obliterated, and one of these mighty rigs carefully walks into the water to get started on span 2.
I was out there with the machine in the middle of the river, and you just have to feel around and make sure you're always in the center of the bridge, because the last thing you want is to slide off and get yourself in a situation that's not safe. And getting started is the hardest part, getting the holes and finding out where you are between each girder. But once you get a gap going, then you can just follow that and work your way all the way back.
But they need to be extra careful. With this job not only taking place near the water, but right in it, a little added protection has been installed.
We met with the Conservation Authority here as well, Catfish Creek Conservation, and they've asked us to use this silt curtain to control the sediment in the water when we're doing the work in the water. It basically just keeps it localized to the area that you're working in and prevents it from migrating downstream.
The team is ready to attack that center span with full force.
We've done both the end spans almost as much as possible. We're trying to break out the last bit in between the girders. The hammer on the machine on the north side over here has an air compressor with what they call a wet kit hooked to it. So we have compressed air going through the hammer to keep the water out of the hammer. Today we're going to try and use the 8,000 to pull out the rest of the girders. The girders are about 10 tons each, so we'll hope to do the rest today. We'll take the 8,000 apart again, and we'll float it around the other side, put it back together again so you can pull out the girders on the far side.
The Link Belt 8000 lugs these massive beams out of the water for them to be processed safely over land.
Can you put your bucket out a bit further, and then you get a bite after?
We got the 3 different materials that will come out of this. There'll be your post-tension wire. We'll keep that separated. You'll have your rebar. And then, of course, the concrete. We are hauling the concrete up the road. They've got a pit. We're crushing this concrete into gravel for the county as well.
One side of span 2 has been completely removed. The crew cleans up the shore and disassembles the mighty 8000. They'll float it over to the other bank so that it can be put to the test once more. And on Monday morning, they're right back at it again. PDI has this down to a science, and it doesn't take long to remove the remaining center span girders. With the center span removed, the team shifts their focus to removing the outer span girders and an overall site cleanup.
This week we finished on the south side of the bridge, and then on this side we finished up this week with the last removal of span 1, which there's a big portion of that in the water. That was the portion that was tipped up where the truck was on. We had brought the 8000 from the south side around here to remove the last big pieces of the girders. We used some of the larger pieces of concrete just to sort of stabilize the bank. Everyone's happy to see a quick response and a clean slate to move on from there.
And with that, this local disaster has been turned into a success story. The path is now clear for the installation of a new bridge, reconnecting the two sides of Port Bruce, all before fish spawning season. Thanks in large part to the resourcefulness of the men and women at Priestley Demolition.